Good afternoon, everybody. I'm your host, Crystal, and this is another edition of the 9 o'clock Meltdown podcast on location. And we are upstairs of Wousseau's Concert Coffee Shop here in the west end of Duluth. And I'm here with the wonderful and talented Mr. Eric Bong.
Hello, stop. Don't really.
Oh, whatever. No, Eric, you play in a number of bands. I met you, probably about 12 years ago now. You were playing with, I want to say it was Israel Malachi at Homegrown maybe one year. And
I've only been playing with Israel for a couple of years. It was probably Teague.
Oh,
I was
yes.
playing music with Teague for a number of years back then.
Yes.
So.
And you were playing at Carmody's, I believe, if I remember correctly. I think you were on bass for that one, or were you on guitar?
I remember. I've played in so many bands these last 20 years. I don't remember which show it was or what I was playing. So
good.
With Teague, I was just playing some drums and doing a little extra singing.
That's right.
But primarily, I've been a bass player in other bands.
Yes,
so.
And now you were with the Stardust Collective,
yep.
Which I've spoken to Aaron Tank about that before, and his kind of mashup of different genres and a little bit of jazz, a little bit of funk, but all peace and love. So.
Yeah. He's an amazing and strange songwriter. Just because he's kind of this hidden gem of a guitarist and really a beautiful lyricist. And the songs they're all rock and roll, but like you said, they're kind of across the board as far as what version of rock and roll they are. So a couple of like heavier alternative 90s type of songs.
Yes, yeah.
Some folkier things.
That's what I was going to say. Definitely kind of Tori Amos in there a little bit at times.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
And now what you guys do, which I think is really cool, is Aaron actually shifts the spotlight from himself being kind of the front lead and then changes it over to you for a couple songs in the middle of your set. Was that something that you guys really wanted to do right away with Stardust, or is that something that just kind of came along as you guys practiced?
Well, I'm trying to think. I've probably been playing with Aaron for about 4 years now, and he just kind of randomly asked me if I had any songs that I wanted to bring to the stage, and I had a few songs that I felt were worthy and ready, and he and our drummer Amy Ugstead both really liked the songs and supported them. So now we do a small featurette of a couple of my songs in the middle of our show. It was at Aaron's prompting, which is just kind of another example of many, many examples of how incredibly team-oriented Aaron is.
Yes, yeah, he definitely is. I know he roped me into playing flute a couple of times for him there in the past years. So
we would always love for you to join us anytime.
Oh well, thank you. Maybe in the near future we'll see what winter holds in store for all of us. See if I can make it out of the house or not. So
we'll talk.
Yes, definitely. And now, Eric, let's get to your songwriting a little bit. Now I've known you for many years, and you've been kind of a singer-songwriter, a drummer, a bassist. Kind of all hands on deck kind of guy for a long time. How did you actually get into music?
Oh gosh, well, I remember being 7 years old, and this is a guilty truth of mine still to this day. I fell in love with the Beach Boys, and I remember sitting there listening to the different components that went into their music, the harmonies and the vocals, and being able to pick out the different instrumentations that were going on, and I actually saved up my allowance money, which was minuscule. This was like the early 80s, and I was a little kid, but I would buy Beach Boys cassette tapes, and there was one that was like a concert of theirs, and they actually made a point of kind of like featuring the different instruments and kind of pointing them out.
Okay.
And I just instantly latched on to like the process of just compiling parts of a song to make a whole. So I don't remember when I wrote my first song, but I was probably 10 or so, 11. So I don't remember what it was about. But Probably something, silly and childlike.
Yeah.
I was a silly child.
Yeah.
So,
There you go. What was kind of your first instrument that you were really drawn to?
keys, actually.
Oh.
Well, vocals, really. I've been singing since I was a little kid. I had it wasn't anything big. It was like school concerts and choir and stuff like that. But even from an early age, my music teachers would always like pick solos for me to sing and stuff like that. So, and then when I was, I don't know, 8 or 9, my mom got me a keyboard, and I just kind of taught myself some of the things that I heard on the radio, and was able to make up a few little things of my own. But unfortunately, I never really followed it, and I just kind of let keyboards drop off and just remained a singer without any real training. And I didn't actually start playing instruments until I was in my 20s.
Oh, okay.
And that was kind of out of necessity. I was in my first gigging band. We were a glam punk band called the Kicks.
Okay.
And we had some shows lined up on the calendar, but there were some internal conflicts between the members of the band.
Oh.
And we had made the agreement, some of us had made the agreement that when we were done with our existing calendar, we were going to uninvite our guitarist from the band.
Oh, no.
But somehow he caught wind of it beforehand, and he left the band while we still had shows on the gig, and he took the drummer with him. But it was our other guitarist who actually did all of the songwriting.
Oh, okay.
And at that time, I was only singing. I wasn't playing any instruments. But out of necessity, we went to Music Around, and in my early 20s, with just a little bit of money in my pocket, bought a drum set, the cheapest one we could find. God, it was awful. And I got about 4 practices in before our first show, which was also absolutely horrible. Absolutely horrible.
But it's punk, so punk can be that way. I just watched a interview with Green Day's Billy Joe, and he said punk is supposed to be messy and not perfect, and it's all over the map, and that's okay. So,
well, in that case, we were punk as fuck.
Yeah, there you go. Glam punk. So, to kind of rope it in so people can maybe understand a little bit, are we talking more kind of like Twisted Sister, maybe a little more kind of early AFI? I mean, what is your version of glam punk?
Well, for our band, we did a handful of covers that I think kind of help put parameters on it. We did some David Bowie stuff, some of his bigger, louder stuff.
Okay.
We covered some T-Rex. We did a Smashing Pumpkins song. But the music was really kind of focused around the songwriting of my then roommate and still dear friend, Jeff Grinney. He was trained as a kid in piano, classical piano, but had a heart for punk rock. So he'd write these like really intricately orchestrated pieces of music, but they were just big and raw with like snarling guitars and very sloppy drums. And it was really just kind of a lot of times we were just making big loud noises musically, So, but he was also kind of a fun storyteller with his music. I mean, it was punk, but my favorite song of his was written to the cadence of his washing machine.
Oh, okay.
And titled "The Pungent Smell of Lilacs on a Sunday."
Interesting.
Very, right? So he had another song about this creepy old man who was like following him around and giving him the sexy eye.
Oh.
So it was just a strange variety of things. So, I mean, I don't know if that helps narrow in what glam punk was to us, but there was a lot of glitter. There was a lot of glitter.
A lot of glitter and
shiny
bright
clothes. There was a Freedom Hawk, so they were good times. They were good times. Yeah.
Good. And now, fast forward, maybe.
Well, that was 2003, so 16 years ago.
Yeah. Now fast forward, and now you're in a peace, love, no war, rock and roll hippie band.
Yeah, which I mean, philosophically has pretty much always been consistent with how I would like to be. I know I'm not always a success in that realm. As, everybody's a mixture of the light and the dark. But,
right.
Yeah, but it feels good to be in a band that's kind of like professing goodness.
Yes, definitely.
And love and the humanitarianism. So.
Yep.
Yeah, and again, focused around the amazing songwriting of Aaron Tank.
Yes, definitely. Aaron, if you're listening, you're absolutely amazing. I need you on again. I interviewed Aaron Tank, probably about 10 years ago now, and he had come out with his second album that had a very beautiful turtle on the front.
Yeah, that's a good album.
Yes,
I'm
it is.
forgetting what it's called, but it's my favorite of his.
Yes, definitely. He is a phenomenal guitar player. And so, now, Eric, did you go to school for music at all? I mean, what is your real background in that?
I mean, the most schooling I ever got was with my choir teacher in high school.
Okay.
I sort of almost learned how to sight read, but I can't. Honestly, my biggest education came when I was, from my early bandmate, Jeff Grinney. Mm-hmm. He was the first person to put a drum set and a bass in front of me. Mm-hmm. And those are my two favorite places to be as a musician. Okay. So I have a lot of my gratitude owed to him. Mm-hmm. Shortly after that, I joined a band called The Rez. Okay. Which was a big prog jam funk thing. And I was the only guy in the band who hadn't at some point been a music student. Oh, okay. And that band, I was with them for about 5 years, and that's probably where I got the bulk of my education musically. Mm-hmm. It was just an amazing group of musicians, and they taught me a lot of things that I think you only get from music school. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I miss those guys. Oh,
very cool. And now, Eric, did all of this happen kind of centered in the Duluth area?
I've lived in this area pretty much my whole life. I grew up about an hour west of here, out in the woods. Okay. Moved here when I started college, and here I am. So.
All right, excellent. You're kind of like me. We transplanted here and then never left.
Something like that, yeah.
Something holds us here.
Yeah.
People.
It's a beautiful place. Yeah,
it is.
It's a beautiful place. The community is amazing. Mm-hmm. That lake.
Oh, yeah.
My mistress.
Oh. Mm-hmm. Yes, and actually, I'm recalling, was it maybe 2 years ago now, you actually finally got a Lake Superior tattoo.
Yeah, there it is. Mm-hmm. You listeners out there can't see it, but it's big and it's blue.
Yep, and it's very beautiful, actually. So you've got the dark blue of the lake, and then around it almost kind of like a sun flare color.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that's supposed to be. I had done a painting of Lake Superior with just kind of like a pale yellow washout around it, and my tattoo artist was like, well, that yellow isn't going to show up. It's just going to look like you're jaundiced. So
I think he lied.
Yeah, well, so he put a splash of orange around it too. Mm-hmm. So it looks kind of like Lake Superior's on fire.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Lake Superior's a good place to be.
Yeah, and I got this tattoo during Homegrown 3 years ago. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. How many years have you played in Homegrown?
I think this last year was my 16th consecutive.
Yes.
Consensual? Is that a word?
I have no idea, but we do have Google at our fingertips, but I'm not going to look it up right now.
Later. Yes. Well, it'll be an addendum to the interview.
Exactly. Consecutive years. Very cool. Yeah. What was your first band? I mean, were you with a band? Did you do a solo act?
I've never done a Homegrown gig solo. Okay. What was my first Homegrown gig? I think it was with the Rez, actually. Mm-hmm. So, no, it wasn't 16 years ago. That would have been 2005. So, 14 years ago. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Very cool. And I guess, how has Homegrown changed for you? I mean, I know I've noticed a change. Several other people that I've talked to have kind of noticed a change as well. For those of you who don't know, Homegrown is basically the festival fringe of Duluth and Superior. It's a week long of nothing but music and shows everywhere and anywhere, and debauchery to be had by all.
And it's all local acts, or at least acts that have a local affiliation. So,
right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This is a fun fact. Duluth Homegrown Music Festival is the second largest locals-only music festival in the country.
Really?
Yeah. I don't remember what the biggest one is, though. So.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Nice. Hey, it's something Duluth gets to say we own and proudly do every year. yeah, this last year, I mean, I was looking at it comes out with its own little catalog and everything like that, and I mean, you thought 250 bands was big. They've added so much more onto it now. I know the Duluth Dolls have their own showcase, and many other
Poetry
people.
readings,
Yes,
2 days of film festival.
Mm-hmm.
I think there have been some art shows that are focused around the festival. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, good stuff, good stuff. So to answer your question,
Yes.
For me personally, or like as an outside observer?
Both, I guess.
Okay. I know a lot of Duluthians who save their vacation for Homegrown.
Yes, I know that too.
like me 10 years ago, it's an endurance match.
Yeah.
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 I mean, amazing music for 8 consecutive nights, consensual nights.
Well, and then one Sunday morning,
yeah.
which has been dubbed the Recovery Morning or Recovery Day, or I can't remember now, but yes, I used to do that endurance match, and it was
I don't think I ever won.
No, I definitely never won. My friend Mel always beat me, and still to this day she can beat every single one of us. But yes, it's a fun time, and you basically just bounce from one venue to the next, and you can walk down the street, and it's stuff everywhere and anywhere. And anyway, I digress.
Quite all right. You're part of this conversation. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'm just getting old or if I'm getting just a little bit more selective about how I spend my energy. But I kind of pick and choose my shows quite a bit more than I used to. Like before, I would just leave the house, have no idea where I was going to start, and have no idea where I was going to end. And nowadays, I kind of look for certain shows and try to check out some of the newer bands that crop up. Homegrown oftentimes ends up being a place where young bands have their proving ground, which is, I think, a beautiful thing about it. It seems like the last couple of years in particular, the Homegrown committee has chosen to kind of spotlight bands that haven't been around as long or haven't gotten as much attention, which I think is great. I mean, it's a community festival, and I think it's fantastic that it's helping to boost our local music community, which is already stellar.
Oh yes, yes. And to your point of maybe we're just getting older, I've definitely felt that myself. I don't go out as much as I used to anymore, and if I do, I've got my favorite venues that I hit up or favorite acts that I like to see. But yeah, definitely, I think this last Homegrown, I hit up a few shows here and there, but I was in bed by 10, so
right.
Those darn day jobs.
I know, they get in the way of real life.
I know, they do. And now, Eric, you actually work at a coffee shop downtown. You work for Duluth Coffee Company.
Yes.
And then about maybe 3 years ago, you opened your own massage parlor, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah, actually,
it's a collective.
It's a collective. We have a bunch of independent massage therapists. We're called the Sanctuary Healing Collective. And it was about 3.5 years ago that we opened our space up. Yeah. Amazing massage therapists that I work with, amazing humans in general. So, but I've been practicing massage independently as well as for other businesses for about 9 years now, a little over 9 years. So,
very cool. Now, did you go to school for that a little bit?
Yep. In Duluth, it's necessary that you get a certain number of hours of schooling and get licensure and insurance. So I attended the Lake Superior College massage program back in 2009 and 10.
All right.
Pretty good program. I like what they're doing up there.
Yeah. Did you always kind of want to open up your own kind of collective or be a massage therapist?
I'm still trying to figure out what drove me to it.
Okay.
I had wanted to for a long time. When I first started college, way back in 1998, it was the first year of the Lake Superior College massage program, actually.
Okay.
And I was very intrigued. I was, just a teenager, and I was like, "This sounds cool. Let's check this out." But the waiting list was 4 years long.
Oh my goodness.
And it's a 2-year school. And I ended up, picking up jobs and heading off in different directions. And it was 11 years later that I finally went to massage school.
Mm-hmm.
And I still can't tell you why I wanted to, but it just always seemed like a really great job. Seemed like it would be a really beautiful opportunity to connect with people and offer a little bit of healing in the world. And so far, my 9.5 years as a professional, that's just been proven true over and over and over again. It's among the most beautiful and rewarding things I've ever had the privilege of doing.
Excellent, excellent. And now you're in the coffee shop realm, I don't even know what, a craft coffee, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And now I've interviewed Eric in the past. The other Eric.
I'm actually the other Eric.
You're the other Eric.
Yeah, let's be clear.
Well,
he's Eric Faust, the man, the legend.
Okay. All right, the man, the legend.
Yeah.
And now you're working for him downtown at Duluth Coffee Company. How has that been for you?
Life-changing in a lot of ways.
Okay.
I initially applied for that job because after doing so many years of massage, I was starting to feel some long-term repetitive stress type injuries. Needed to cut back on massage a little bit to keep it sustainable. I had been a patron of Duluth Coffee Company since shortly after they opened, which has been 7 years now.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, and
phenomenal.
and I knew that the quality of coffee was top notch, and I gathered from the employees and talking with management that it would just be an amazing group of people to work with as well. And for anybody who doesn't know Eric Faust, he is an incredibly humanitarian person. In a lot of ways, he's very quietly changing the coffee industry at large.
Really?
In the way that farmers are being paid, in the amounts that farmers are being paid. He's an incredibly generous human being. It's written right into his mission statement at Duluth Coffee Company to improve the lives of everybody that his coffee comes in touch with. And one of the biggest ways that he's doing this is really trying to bring focus to the individual farmers. We, in recent times, have really, really made a big push to be single origin as much as we can. So, for example, we've got handshake contracts with farmers in South America where we are the only cafe on the planet who touches their beans. And it's this way with a few of our farmers. If we go back just a few months, there was a big change in how Duluth Coffee Company packages their beans. No longer do you see... Oh, there's my phone. Sorry about that.
No, you're okay. It's live.
Whoops. Yeah, so you're not going to see light roast, dark roast labels anymore. You're not going to see coffee that says, this is Colombian coffee from the Wheeler region. Wheeler is kind of the most reputable coffee growing area in Colombia. Now what you're going to see is Diego Abarca, the farmer. He grew this coffee. This is how he processed it. This is where his farm is, and blah, blah, blah. So it's really an attempt to kind of create fame and reputation and rapport for the individual.
Right. And coffee is a huge industry. I mean, not just only in America, but I mean across the board. I mean, it's almost kind of like how tea was way back when, the giant tea, not ban, but I'm trying to think back to the Revolutionary War and things like that. I can't do it. This coffee hasn't kicked in yet, Eric.
It's too early, Crystal. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I was never great at history class anyway. World War I and II, on the other hand. I can keep going. Anywho. So Eric's kind of changing the whole coffee industry at large. That's really cool, and that's awesome that you get to be a part of that. And it's starting here in Duluth.
An incredible privilege, yeah. I mean, on top of just the beauty of what he's doing for the farmers, he is, hands down, without a doubt, the best manager that I will ever have. He has the biggest heart. He's smart about running his business. His management team is top-notch. and truly, it's just written into the ethics of Eric and his team of the business. Just be good, be kind, be beautiful. You know, and he's succeeding at every turn.
Right.
So
definitely.
I not only am I learning amazing things about coffee and getting to be part of this very revolutionary business model that Eric has developed. Just the community of our staff perpetually blows me away at the high quality of humanity that we have there, that we share there. So, that to me is, I mean, anybody can do good work. I've heard that Steve Jobs was one of the most miserable and difficult people to work with.
I've heard that too.
Yeah, but here we've got Eric Faust, who is literally at the forefront of the cutting edge of the next wave of coffee, choosing to be absolutely beautiful.
Right.
You know?
Right. To me, and kind of how it sounds, I mean, by all means, please correct me if I'm wrong here, it almost sounds like it's more of a independent coffee thing rather than, Folgers or, one of those other big name brands. It almost sounds kind of like an underground independent coffee movement, kind of like, how musicians and other artists are taking things into their own hands. And I mean, they're able to put out their music on SoundCloud and iTunes and things like that. And you don't have to go to, EMI or Warner Brothers or something like that. And they're still changing how we view music and how we do things. So is this kind of what's happening, but in the realm of coffee?
Certainly. I mean, in a lot of ways, Eric and the rest of our management team, they're really kind of changing the way that the behind the scenes things happen with coffee too. Like, I don't know the ins and outs of a lot of it, but yeah, Eric is definitely like forging new pathways for how the business of coffee operates as well, from new ways of shipping and packaging, forging like direct trade handshake agreements with farmers instead of going through a middleman. Although I should say we do almost the entirety of our importing with Cafe Imports, which is another amazing company out of the Twin Cities.
Oh, okay.
And to a certain degree, I think Eric kind of started modeling his business after trends that Cafe Imports was establishing. But yes, you're absolutely right. He's taken things in new directions and really, I mean, just revolutionized how things operate in pretty much every direction of the industry.
Yes.
He's breaking ground.
Very cool. Well, thank you for taking that tangent leap about coffee with me.
It's one of my other passions.
Good. We're both coffee connoisseurs. And you've actually introduced me to a new coffee drink that I have not tried yet. Did you call it a Bravo?
A breve.
A breve.
Cafe breve. Yeah, it's espresso and steamed half and half.
Yep. Almost like a latte, but a little fuller and a lot creamier. So.
Yeah, delectable. This is almost indulgent. Cheers.
Cheers, sir. Cheers. Thank you so much for finally being on my show and finally talking.
Such a pleasure.
Talking about you. I remember, probably several homegrowns now, or past homegrowns. Israel Malachi had played in his band. And I said yes. And then at the time we did not have a drummer. So he wanted me to be the drummer. And I remember I recalled that you played drums. So I had reached out to you to teach me a little something.
I remember this.
Yep. You busted out a snare and a hi-hat, and that was it. And needless to say, I ended up playing flute.
I was there. I was at the show.
Yep. So you've got quite a repertoire of music in your back pocket and musical friends and different musical endeavors. Have you always kind of been the drummer or the bassist or the, fill your need? Let's call Eric Bong.
I think in some circumstances, yeah. For the most part, I've been filling a specific role for a band.
Okay.
But I have the good fortune of being adequate at a number of different roles. So.
Yes.
Your question? Okay. Right.
Yes, it does. So, Eric, what's on the docket for you? Is it Stardust Collective? Do you have anything else in the works?
Stardust Collective is one of 3 bands I'm playing with right now.
Okay.
I'm still playing with Abe Curran, who has been a dear friend, and we've been playing music together for about 10 years. We have an amazing keyboard player with us named Nate Olson.
Mm-hmm.
We recently talked to Eric Pollard into stepping in as our drummer. And I'm not sure if that's a permanent thing or if it's a temporary thing or what's up, but it was definitely an incredible joy to have him join us for our last show.
Very cool. And now, for those who don't know, Eric Pollard, he bounces between Duluth and California, if I'm not mistaken.
He's set up base here for now,
okay.
But I believe. Oh gosh, I don't remember where he was living in California.
Oakland, I think.
Oakland, yeah, you're right. My understanding is that he's a Duluthian again.
Oh, all right, excellent.
For a semi-permanent period of time. So
wonderful. And I met Eric. He was still with Retribution Gospel Choir.
Ah, yes,
with Alan Sparhawk and Steve.
Steve.
Yeah,
I'm
sorry,
blanking on his
Steve. I
last name.
can't.
Steve from Low.
Yes, Steve from Low. Sorry, Steve. We can't remember your last name right now. But I saw them perform at Luce. Actually, back when Luce still did a number of shows, and there were lines out the door, and you had to wait a half hour to get in. But
right.
Yep, that's the first time I saw Eric. And then, not to jump off into another tangent, but then Pollard did a couple solo bands, and he is actually the one that has the rose-tinted sunglasses for sale.
He is the actual wolf himself.
The actual wolf, yes. I almost forgot that's what he calls his axe now. So that's really cool that the Erics are kind of coming together on something.
I might start a band called Too Many Erics.
Yes.
But then we'd need banjo players.
Maybe.
No.
No. Well, there are acts out there that Too Many Mike or So Many Mike.
So Many Mike?
So Many Mike.
I need to know this band. Who are
they? It's a song actually that they have. What is Peelander Z is their name, and they are from Japan.
Okay, I'll check them out.
Yeah, I can't remember, but they're very fun. It's a very fun kind of upbeat song. So if you're doing the dishes or something, definitely check out that song.
I'll check it out. Too Many Mike.
Too Many Mike. So Many Mike.
So Many Mike.
So Many Mike. So Many Mike. Which I know a lot of Mikes. If
they're around.
They're around, just like Eric.
Yeah, so many Erics.
So many Erics. Yes, there you go. There's your new song title. All right, so you have Stardust Collective. You're once again playing with Abe Curran. What's the third one?
I've been playing bass with Israel Malachi for about 3 years.
All right, very cool. So is it the Israel Malachi Experience?
Israel Malachi Orchestra.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And are you guys on the docket for Homegrown this year? What's happening?
I'm sure we will be. Yeah. I'm not sure if registration has opened up yet. Has it? I think it goes through December.
I believe so.
Oh, I'll have to scope it out. Right. I'm sure we'll at least apply. Hopefully get in. I would like to see all 3 of my bands play Homegrown. So. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Not a lot of places that I like being more than on stage. So.
Excellent. And now, was this kind of always your end goal? Was to play stages?
To make it.
To make it.
To Homegrown.
To Homegrown. There you go.
I guess I don't have an exact answer for that. When I was younger, I think I wanted like the fame and fortune and the rock star lifestyle, and
who didn't?
All the sex and all the drugs and all the rock and roll. But as I get a little bit older, I really like my bed a lot more than a tour bus. I like to be home with my dogs a lot more than out and about. So I don't know. I think musically speaking, I feel like Duluth is a great fit because it's a limited number of venues that you can play.
Okay.
But you have a pretty good shot of being able to pick up a show here and there, So it's it's an incredibly supportive music scene.
Oh, definitely.
So you get bands calling bands to put together shows, and sometimes the genres don't even come close to matching.
No.
Barely matters. So.
Yep.
So the end goal nowadays, I think, is just to
Enjoy life.
Enjoy making music.
Mhm.
Yeah, enjoy life. That's the umbrella goal. But musically, if I make a few bucks, that's a bonus. But there's just joy in the camaraderie of being on stage making music with my friends.
Yes, wonderful. And it sounds like there's also camaraderie in the coffee shop as well.
Certainly, yeah. I guess I'm a comrade all around.
Yes, all around. Wonderful, Eric. Wonderful. Well, I hope to see you out at Homegrown this year, sir. Thank you so much for finally being on my show. I know I've been
thanks for having me.
bugging you about it for the last decade or so, and it finally happened. Finally came together.
Well, I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yes, of course. And the squeaky chairs and the ticking clock in back. We are upstairs at Wuso's Concert Coffee Shop, and Jason is a huge perpetuator of the music scene and camaraderie and just connecting people.
Yeah,
I think I've met most of the people that I know here at what was Beaner's, and now it's Wuso's.
Yeah. Jason is another beacon in the community of just goodness and friendliness and supportive professionalism. Yeah, beautiful human being.
Yes, definitely. Well, Eric, thank you so much. It's time for us to dive into our tasty treats here.
All
right.
Thanks, Crystal.
Of course.